Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Sam Ovens here, and I just wanted to make this quick video for you today called Death by 1,000 Cuts, and specifically why productivity is death by 1,000 cuts. And what I mean by that is that, when people are trying to be productive and when people are trying to get things done and deliver projects and ship things and, really build something great or build a great business, whatever it is, the thing that really trips people up is that they think it's going to be something big that comes in and steals all of their time or makes them not productive. But that isn't really what happens. Instead, what happens is it's 1,000 little things, and each of them all look like, when it pops up into your day, you're like, this is just something small. It'll only take 5 minutes. Or, this will only take 1 minute or 30 seconds. And it's these things that really get us when it comes to productivity and time management. And that's why, I call it death by 1,000 cuts, because it's not one big, dagger that gets you. It's just these little paper cuts that are just getting you over time. And the end result is that, the 1,000 little paper cuts, it just kills you and it kills your productivity. And right now, I'm in my new place out here in Venice Beach in California. You can kind of see the ocean through there. And right now I'm sitting at my temporary desk, and I can show you it. It's an IKEA desk with a $40 plastic drawer set from Amazon. And, we just made the move out here to California, to Venice, and I'm going to be doing another video soon where I, give you a tour of the place and also explain why I moved here and, the rationale and logic and reason behind that decision and everything. But for now, I'm not going to give you a full tour or anything because, we really don't even have any furniture. And we're waiting on a truck to bring our stuff from New York over here to Venice Beach. And that's not going to be done until 4 or 5 weeks from now. And so it's not really worth giving you a tour in the state it's currently in. But, making this move from New York to Venice, it's really shown me an important lesson. And that is that, your environment and the systems and routines and processes that you have established, they are crucial to your productivity. And what I thought, I'd gotten quite productive in New York with my company and everything, and I started to think, I'm a really productive person, and it doesn't matter what environment you throw me into, I'll be productive, I'll get things done. And so I just moved over here to Venice thinking that that's what's going to happen. But then as soon as I arrived here and we moved into this place, my productivity just fell off a cliff. Everything kind of just ground to a halt. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And really what it was is, my environment wasn't set up the right way to really make me as productive as I was back in New York. And what I learned from this experience was that, it's not so much an individual that's productive. It's more, the individual and their environment and their routine. And I can't say which one's more important. The individual, the environment, or the routine. I think they're all really as important as each other, because I was very productive over there. You moved me over here into not a bad environment, but, into a different environment, and, I'm not as productive. And really what happened there is that there's all of these small little things that you take for granted and you don't realize are there that you set up earlier that really builds a foundation for you to be really productive. And what I mean is, just simple things like the internet connection. How fast is it? And then also having a charger, and not just a charger where you work, but, if there's multiple places where you take your computer during the day or whatever, then you should have a charger in both rooms. Because what happens is you might move room, you might be working and then notice that your battery's going flat. Now you've got to get up, go to the other room to get the charger and bring it back again. Now that might seem that's just a small thing. That might only take you 1 minute, 2 minutes. But like I said, productivity and time management, it's death by 1,000 cuts. So all of these small things just creep up. And the end result is that you can't get anything done because you have to make all of these small micro decisions all the time. And it goes deeper than this. It's not just about like having a fast internet connection. It's not just about having a charger in every room. One of the biggest things that I see that is just so tragic for most people is, just food and eating. And to think about, what am I going to have for breakfast, and then have to go out and get that, and then to think, oh, where am I going to get a coffee, to have to look that up and then go and get a coffee and then maybe wait in line or whatever. And then, to think about, what am I going to have for lunch, going out and getting lunch, probably waiting in line again, coming home, eating it, and then dinner. It happens all over again. And food is one of the biggest things that crushes productivity. It's because, we need to eat constantly throughout the day. We need to have breakfast, lunch, and then dinner, right? And that's 3 things that happen every single day. And if every single time one of these things, you need a meal, you have to think, what am I going to have to eat? And then go out and get something and then bring it back and then eat it. Before you know it, you've got no time left in the day. Because if you have to, if you've got a slow internet connection, you have to think in the middle of the day, oh, I'm going to go get this charger from this other room. And then if you have to go out and get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just doing all of those things, that has probably cut your productivity by, I would say, 75%. It's not just a small thing here. It's a massive performance killer. And why it is, and this is one of the reasons why people don't understand this, when they think about doing a task, let's say it's going out to get lunch, they think, oh, that will only take me 30 minutes. But it's not that. It's so much more demanding than that. Because if you have to think about it, it's using mental bandwidth. And that means that when you come back from lunch, you've got less mental bandwidth to commit to your work. And so it's draining that. And more than that, if you've got these small things that pop up during the day, it doesn't matter if it just takes 1 minute to go and get a charger and then come back. If you're in the middle of some task where you were deep in the zone and focused and concentrated on something, then it doesn't matter if the thing only takes 1 minute to do. It's going to take you half an hour to get back into that same state of mind and into that same depth of zone that you were in. So these small trivial things that look like they only take 1 minute, 2 minutes or whatever, they actually end up costing you 30 minutes, an hour or more. And so by the time we've got a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, finding a charger, a slow internet connection, pretty much we don't have really anything of the day left. And our mental bandwidth is so drained that even with the small little spots we do have left to apply our energy, there isn't much energy to apply. And so the way that what I've noticed, and the purpose of this video here, what I've noticed is that the way people look at time is wrong. And what they do is they just look at a task and they think this is going to take a minute. But what they don't take into account is that it's going to take them half an hour to get back into the same gear they need to be in to keep going on the project they're working on. And it might take, longer than an hour. For example, when I'm creating content, let's say I've got to create some slides or some videos or some training for my online courses at consulting.com. If I'm in the middle of that and then I get distracted from something and I have to come back, it might take me up to 1 hour to get back into that same depth of concentration and focus. And so, you get my point. You really need to protect your time. And what you really need to watch out for is the small things. Remember the saying, death by 1,000 cuts. It's a perfect way of illustrating it. And I actually got this saying from the financial world, where in a lot of training programs where they teach people how to save money and how to become financially free, they say the same thing, death by 1,000 cuts. And why they say that is because it's not big expenses that really cripple people. It's the small things. It's just the lunch out every day. It's the Uber ride here and there. It's going out on Saturday and having a few drinks there. And it's buying, a new t-shirt, a new pair of shoes there. And each one of these small individual purchases, they don't really look like they're going to do much, but the sum total of all of these things is devastating. And it's not just finances that work like this, it is your time too. And your time works like this. I think time is better suited to the saying death by 1,000 cuts than money is, because People are shocking with their time. They don't protect it, and they don't treat it like the rare resource that it really is. And, a lot of people, they're out there all the time and they're worried about money, but no one seems to really be worried about time. And to me, time is more valuable than money. Money I have a lot of and can get a lot of, but time I only have a finite amount. And so, really, I encourage you to be more mindful of, where your time goes. And one thing that I recommend doing, if you're not feeling very productive and if you're kind of getting frustrated and annoyed because you can't deliver on the projects that you want to deliver, then one exercise I highly recommend is just called 100 units of time. And all you do is, for 1 week, you just track where your time goes. So every single day you chunk it out into 30 minutes, and every time you do something, you just write it down, and you track from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, every day for 7 days straight, and track where your time goes. And then at the end of the week, look back over that, and then look at these different buckets that it goes into. And then you can create some buckets or some categories, and then you can start to work out as a percentage, how much time do you spend doing all of these different things. And once you're aware of where your time is going, the real trick to it is not to just try and become more efficient or more productive. And the real trick is not to get more apps on your phone. And it's not to, get some to-do list software or anything like that. That's the stupid way to do it. You don't try to do more, you try to do less. So the real masterful way of dealing with time, once you've been made aware of it and where your time goes, you just want to start eliminating the wasteful practices. So just get rid of it. There is nothing better than just eliminating something. Creating a system or a process or hiring someone or delegating it, these are all things that aren't true fixes. They're kind of just patches and putting a band-aid on something. But eliminating something is just gone. And eliminating things is what I encourage you to do all the time. Once a month, you should do this 100 units of time exercise, just 1 week out of the month, every single month. See where your time's going, identify the wasteful practices and eliminate them. And then there's always going to be some sort of argument, which is like, oh, but I have to do this, or I have to post on Snapchat or something. And the truth is you don't. A lot of the things that people are doing that they think they have to do just aren't that important. And the way to really determine whether something's important or not is whether, it's a process of elimination. Let's say, you're in business and you're helping somebody, let's say you're helping plumbing businesses get customers, right? Let's say that's what you're doing. Now, if we're eliminating things that you're doing in your business, and we're trying to find the point at which it becomes troublesome for your customer, who is the plumber. So if we start eliminating, you doing social media, you doing all of this different stuff, it's not really going to affect the customer. And he or she just is fine. Business can continue as usual. But the moment you start eliminating, like delivering services to your clients, or looking after your clients, or, delivering results to your clients, or actually marketing and selling to get new clients, these things are mandatory. These things must be done in order for the business to stay alive. But all of the other things that aren't essential to that plumber being your customer, they're not necessary. And what you should do is just eliminate all of those things. I didn't do content up until really this year, like January 2018. I've only just started doing YouTube videos once a week. And Instagram, right? It's been around for a long time. I only started doing it in January 2018. And if you don't believe me, just go to my Instagram profile, just scroll back to the first ever post I did. And it is January this year, 2018. And so, my point with this is that I was able to grow a successful business to the point that it was making about 18 million a year. That was at the stage last year, like end of the year. And this was done without having an Instagram account. I didn't even have the app on my phone. I didn't have a Snapchat account. I don't have the app at all. And I didn't use Facebook either. And I only really logged into Facebook to just answer people's questions in my customer community and stuff, but I didn't use it as a consumer. I only used it as a producer. And so I was able to grow my business by not doing those things. And where this really gets people is they're like, oh, but I have to do this. I have to do this. This is what has to be done. And the truth is that really one of the reasons that I was able to make such massive jumps and grow to the size that my company is because I ignored all of the stuff that everybody else is obsessed about. I obsessed over getting results for my clients, attracting clients, and really looking after my clients and getting as many of them as I could. That was really where all of my time went, 100%. And then when it came to things that were just perception, like posting on social media and all of this stuff, I ignored it completely. I eliminated it. And that was actually one of the reasons why I was able to make such rapid progress, by not doing that. And so I encourage you, when you're doing, this 100 units of time exercise and you're finding where all of your time goes, when you spot these areas, that is social media and things like that, or maybe it's creating content, posting videos on YouTube or whatever, I'm telling you, it isn't mandatory. But you might think, well, Sam, why are you doing it now if it isn't useful at all? And I'm not saying it's not useful at all. I'm saying it's not mandatory. You don't have to do it to be successful. I did it without doing that. And there is a lot of other people who do it without doing that too. Now, why did I start doing it this year? That's a good question. And the reason I started doing it this year is because it helps. If you're spending a lot of money on ads, and if you've got a bunch of customers, and if there's word of mouth and stuff out there buzzing around, then it actually helps to have a little bit of a social presence, and it helps to produce a little bit of content, right? Now, the key word here is it helps. It isn't necessary, but if you can, you should do it. And I wasn't in a position to be able to do it responsibly until January this year. And the reason why is because if I was creating content or doing social media, then it would have been taking my time away from helping my customers and creating good training for them, and also getting more customers. Now, I'm not willing to make that trade-off. I'm not willing to do less of what's most important to do more of something that isn't important. It's mindless. That's stupid, moronic activity. And so I only started doing the stuff that is helpful but not mandatory, which is social media, content, all of that, when I had hired and trained enough people in my team to cover all of those bases, so that when I started doing this, I wasn't taking away from that. And that's what I encourage you to do too. Ignore social media and all of this noise and all of this crap, and focus on the main thing. Keep the main thing, which is, helping your customers with whatever it is that you're promising them, delivering amazing results, amazing support. Nothing is more important than adding value to your customers. That is the main thing. And if you're the best at that, it doesn't matter what everything else is like, you'll win. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, the company and the business that delivers the most value to their clients wins, regardless of whether they've got Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. That is not relevant. And so that's my point, is, don't die from 1,000 little cuts, and look at everything, properly. Do that 100 units of time exercise and eliminate all of those sources that are sucking your time dry, and then try to have uninterrupted focus on the main things. Because when you put uninterrupted focus and when you channel it into those main areas, that's when you really start moving the needle of your business. There's putting focus and energy into these things is so explosive to your business. But most people's focus just gets bled out into all of these trivial things that isn't that important at all. And I can't tell you the difference it makes in your business and in your life and in your finances and everything when you make this change. It's hard to do because, you've probably been trained to be all ADD and spastic, and it's going to be hard to try and channel that focus into the main things. And you just have to put up with that resistance, and you have to keep going against it and keep going against it until it breaks. And then the resistance will break, and then you'll flow with this, and it'll be your new mode of operation. It'll be your new norm. And you have to keep working at it until it becomes the new norm. And another really useful tip that I've got for you when it comes to, eliminating time-sucking activities is decision-making. And whenever you come to a decision during your day or during your life at any stage, you want to ask yourself, what is the half-life of this decision? What is the half-life of this decision? And what I mean by that is, if I make this decision, how long is it going to last for before I have to make this decision again? So for example, let's say it's 12:30 on a Monday and I'm hungry and I need food. And I have to make a decision. Where am I going to get food from today? And so I Google it and I find a place, then I go out, I walk, I go there and I get food. I bring it back and I start eating and then I'm done. Right? That's how poor people think. And the same decision keeps popping up the next day, the next day, the next day. Shit, it pops up 3 times in one day, and yet the person doesn't realize that they keep wasting all of this time thinking what I should get to eat when it's going to keep happening forever for the rest of their life, and it's going to happen 3 times a day. And yet this person never really thinks like, oh, maybe I should make a better decision about this. Maybe I should make a decision that's going to last longer than 4 hours. And so the half-life of that decision is really only 4 hours until you're hungry again, right? But what smart people do is they make a decision once that fixes that problem and solves it for forever. Or if not for forever, for a long time. And let me give you an example. When I noticed that, food was taking a lot of time, I decided to hire a chef. And so I hired a chef and we got her trained and everything. And then she would order the groceries and all of that. And then after I'd eaten, she'd even do the dishes. Just end to end, full stack, covered everything. From planning the meals, buying the groceries, putting them in the fridge, putting them in the pantry, cooking the meals, cleaning everything up, and doing the dishes. And I made that one decision, and that one decision took probably the same amount of time as it took to buy one meal, right? So with the same mental bandwidth and energy that it takes to make one decision to get some food, I found a chef who would make food for years. And that's what she did. She continued to, make me lunch and dinner for more than a year. And it was honestly one of the best investments and productivity things I ever did in my entire life. That one decision was worth millions of dollars, even though it just seems so small, like just hiring a chef is worth a lot of money because it saved me so much time cumulatively. And these are the things you want to think about is, make sure that the decisions you make have a long half-life. Instead of thinking, how can I just solve this in the short term? Start thinking, how can I solve this so this decision never has to be made by me ever again? And another way to do this is with your schedule and your routine. And I see people all the time, like they go to bed at different times and they wake up at different times. And whenever you do that, you can't really hold a schedule and you can't really plan out in advance because you don't really know like whether you can schedule something in for 9 a.m. on a Friday because you're not sure if you're going to be awake at 9 a.m. on a Friday. And so you can't really plan and you can't schedule. And the real trick to this is to set standards and principles and routines and rules. And what I mean by this is instead of having everything open and flexible, start bolting things down a bit. And what this really does is when you create constraints, it actually releases more productivity. A lot of the time we have freedom from constraints, and it's quite the opposite of what most people believe. A lot of people believe, if I have just true freedom, no schedule, no calendar, no routine, then I'll be really productive. But that's not true. Just try and operate. But when you're doing that, you're all over the place. You're a mess. And instead, you need to set some standards and have some discipline. And so when I started doing this, it changed my productivity immensely. I started going to bed at 11 o'clock every night. And then I started waking up at 6:50 in the morning every night and going to the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning pretty much every day, 5 days a week out of 7. And when I really stuck to that, it meant that I was able to schedule my days better. I was able to schedule things well out in advance because I knew when I was going to be working and when I wasn't going to be working. and it totally unlocked a lot of efficiency for me. And so if you're an entrepreneur, then I bet you suffer from, too much freedom. And this is what happens, because when you've got no constraints on you, and when you're your own boss and you can kind of set whatever limits you want for yourself, sometimes you can have too much freedom and you just end up kind of in a tangle and in a mess. And what I recommend for you is to, set some standards and some rules and then stick to them and stay on the rails. Really what we're doing here is we're kind of building like rails that we can stay on. And when you stay on those rails, you're able to just execute and get things done so much more efficiently than you would have without them. And I didn't really experience this until I came here to Venice, when my rails were removed. My personal trainer Rhett wasn't here, our chef wasn't here, and my desk and workspace is all different, the internet was different, everything was different. And I didn't really have this realization until all of that was taken away, and then I realized how helpful these rails really are. And that's what I'm in the process of now, is putting these rails back in place so I can get back to that optimum efficiency that I was at before. So that's it for this video today. I just wanted to tell you, watch out for, those 1,000 little cuts. It's those little things that get you. It's those little things that are going to take you out and really consume all of your life without you ever really being aware of it. So if you liked this video, just click that like button, and also leave me something in the comment section below. I'm going to be reading these comments and replying to them, so let me know what you think down there. Also, if you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I release a blog video like this once every week, and I also do customer interviews and Q&A calls and other things that might help you along your journey. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one soon.